viewers, you are watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Cisse, and it's now time for your weekly State of Affairs program. Well, this week we are looking at two critical sectors as far as this country is concerned. We are looking at youth and sports sectors, and joining me this week, I have the Right Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Bakari Y. Baji, who will be joining us in the next 5 minutes to help answer certain critical questions as far as his sector is concerned. Honorable, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the State of Affairs program.
Thank you. Good evening to Mr. Cisse and to all of the viewers of State of Affairs. It's good to be here.
Let's start with your overall assessment. How will you describe, the current state of, youth and sport development in the country?
Well, we would say it's a mixed state for many reasons. Primarily focusing on the positive part. There's been some remarkable achievements and remarkable progress in the areas of youth from the sectors that we do, be it in the sports, be it on entrepreneurship or on higher education, and quite a number of others in the general welfare of young people in terms of access to facilities, access to healthcare, and all of that. We would say they have improved significantly over the past years, and especially in 2025. But of course, we have challenges as well in the sports sector, and of course, the irregular migration continues to be a very difficult issue for the country and its young people. Sports also, we've had our goods and bads in terms of success, but also in terms of challenges in infrastructure, in other events that we expected to participate that we couldn't. So I would say in general terms, there are a lot of progress, but of course there are the challenges that one needs to look at and find a way to address them.
And in terms of the achievements when it comes to sports and youth, what are some of the achievements, especially in the sports domain?
Well, for the sports, we'll see, let's say in 2025, we've seen the ministry and of course other private sector with the Bakote Mboyo field coming up, looking good for basketball, volleyball, handball, and for football as well. But of course, we've seen North Star in the Nyomis getting their pitch completed for the first time, having something like that in the northern part of the country. And of course, this last Saturday, we opened one for Dutch Lion in Faraba. Okay. So some of those progress that we've made. But of course, 2025 also became the year when Gambia registered its greatest success in sports at the international level, having won 12 medals in one competition in Algeria during the school games, and then our young people also won a bronze in Saudi during the Islamic Games, and then a team also went to Angola and did well in terms of winning 3 or 4 medals out there. So these are some of the successes that we have done. Back home, we've seen some more improvements in terms of the quality of events that are held for the young people in sports, in football. The zonals at the regional level came back in KM. So some of those good progresses that one can be proud of and be able to look forward to a brighter future.
Minister, under your tenure, the Gambia has, remained unable to host international matches at the Independence Stadium. Do you personally, as a minister, accept responsibility for this failure?
No, well, I'll say under my tenure, Gambia actually hosted and qualified AFCON for the first time in the Gambia. That's what I will start with. Of course, because I was appointed late 2020, and then we played AFCON qualifiers and qualified here in the Gambia in 2021. And I think that's the beginning of it. Yes, the second AFCON qualification, we played it outside. And it has been challenging in the last 3 years to get the stadium to be renovated. Do I accept responsibility? Of course. I'm the minister. And if you're a minister of a sector and there's something that didn't go right, of course, it's one out of many, we will take responsibility for that aspect. But I always tell people, and anyone who cares to listen, that the stadium history is not of today. It's a 40-year-old infrastructure that unfortunately has never been renovated. And every infrastructure needs to be renovated, even if it is going to be every 10 years, to keep it up with the realities of the current times. And unfortunately, stadium didn't have that. And we were appointed at a time that stadium was banned multiple times. And then AFCON, I was appointed, and then CAF decided to impose a permanent ban on stadiums in Africa, and Gambia happened to be part of it. But it takes more than just willingness and knowledge to be able to make something work. The financing is there, which, for instance, I don't control. The technical requirement is there that I don't control either, and quite a number of other factors. But one thing is certain, we have made progress, and we're looking forward to its final completion in 3 months' time.
Like you said, I mean, CAF inspectors had made, several, visits to the country. And there have been several assurances from your office that the stadium will be ready for the previous qualifiers. But one will tend to ask, how does a project fail such inspection multiple times under your supervision?
No, the project actually failed once in terms of inspection. And this is the unfortunate thing that sometimes people tend to misunderstand, and they have not listened to the messages and the messaging from the ministry, which is the right authority. They tend to hear or listen to the louder voices. And the louder voices are the majority of the people who probably are not involved in management, neither are they involved in what is going on at the stadium, and they are the ones that pick up one information or one wrong information and make it a reality. Stadium inspection in the country, as far as we know, under this renovation happened only once. And that, it passed everything except for the pitch. And that's the one that happened last year. The rest, the other visit, because CAF came here twice. The initial visit, which was in August of 2024, was, or 2023, I believe, 2023, was at our invitation, based on the advice of the Gambia Football Federation, that we have gotten into the renovation. It will be important to bring CAF to the country to come and look at what we plan to do and advise on whether that is adequate enough to get CAF approval or not. And that was what brought here the CAF head of competition department at the time. And when he came, we showed him this is what we want to do. We understand that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And the project was phased in 3. So you have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Now, we were advised, based on the technical knowledge that is available in the country, that if you're able to do phase 1, you would get approval by CAF while you continue to work on the rest while you're playing your matches. That was the belief that we had. So we decided to look for funding that was good enough to do phase 1. And while we were on phase 1, equipments came, the plans were done, and then Mr. Sidat came here for a visit. Now, the reason why we call it a preliminary inspection was because we know that we were still working. It was not a final inspection. Neither were we looking for an approval. We were inviting CAF for a preliminary inspection to tell us what we are doing and whether it was adequate. And when he came, he said, no, what you want to do in phase 1 is not adequate. You have to be able to add phase 2 to phase 1 to do all of that work, and then you will be able to invite CAF to do the inspection. And then while we leave phase 3. And that is exactly what we did. Now, the information came out there that CAF inspector was coming. What came out also was that CAF inspector said, what we want to do in phase 1 is not enough, we have to do more. And that's what we sent out. All of a sudden, people picked up the information and said, stadium has been disapproved. What CAF did not approve at the time was our plan to host the Gambia match here. And they said, no, you cannot approve a stadium or you cannot host a match while the stadium was being constructed. Go ahead and complete the job. This is exactly what happened in the first inspection. And that is exactly why we call it preliminary inspection. But people misconstrued and call it a disapproval. So the second inspection is with the proper inspection. And that they passed everything except where they identified the issues with the pitch. And that's why we did not also play our match with Comoros here in Banjo. So
when you look at that, because we also how the pitch was, it looks very good on camera. It was, many assume it was perfect, for Gambia to now start hosting, international matches, only for CAF to come and say, okay, this pitch is not standard for any international competition. As a minister, will you say, okay, this was as a result of incompetence or maybe perhaps poor technical advice, or maybe just there was that weak ministerial supervision?
Maybe both, I guess, because, no, what happened, maybe, I don't know how to put it right, but one thing is clear. The local experts that we have, that we believe are CAF inspectors, they are certified CAF inspectors because they take them here to go and inspect other stadiums in other countries. I am not a stadium expert. I'm not a stadium inspector. I can only take information that is provided to me by the technicians. And what we were made to believe was that what we have is good enough. Anybody that went on that pitch said the stadium was good, the pitch was good. That was the perception. even before the arrival of
That's
the
the impression
CAF
we all had.
Yes, I mean, yeah, you know, of course, because, I mean, truthfully, we think everything was good. And when we went on the inspection, I took the team, just like I did last week on Tuesday. We went round, and the staffs from the Ministry of Works had their books. And then the inspectors were telling, okay, you need to work on this, you need to improve this, there is something that you have to have here when the inspector comes. And we provided all of that. Now, when the inspector came, he said everything is good but the pitch. Now, why was the pitch not good? They said the pitch needed to be greener than it was, that the leveling wasn't right, and that we need to ensure that it is properly leveled. Essentially, those are the things. And according to the information we got, that was an issue because we did not have the right equipment for the maintenance of the pitch. So it takes two things. You have right equipment, and then you have staff that are trained to be able to operate those equipments and maintain your pitch. And truthfully also, we didn't have that at that time. Now, could that be a reason to disqualify the pitch? Maybe, I don't know. But anyone who went there said it was good, and that's why we were hopeful to even request for CAF to come. And when CAF came, they said otherwise, you know, and pretty much that's exactly how it happened. Was it a supervision issue? Again, the Minister of Youth and Sports is not really the one supervising the work at the stadium. I've explained this thing multiple times.
Who is supervising it?
Well, the Minister of Works is the ministry responsible for civil works and anything that has to do with construction of government.
Who hired the contractor?
The Ministry of Youth and Sports hired the contractors. But there is a BOQ, there was a design, there was a costing that was done by the Ministry of Works. And when they submit that to us, is that what is put on the papers. And there is a technical committee that involves everyone, that involves Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ministry of Works, GAMWorks, Gambia Football Federation. Yeah, pretty much. These are the key partners, and of course the contractor that sit in those committees. So quite a number of the decisions that are made in that committee, where personally as a minister, no minister sits there, it's the technician that sits there, and they provide to us outcomes of their discussions and the suggestions that came up, the recommendations. And our role is to look at the recommendations. If you're convinced enough, you take it. And that's why at the beginning, I said at the end of the day, the Minister of Youth and Sports will be the one held accountable because I am the one sitting at the helm of affairs. But when it comes to decisions, we make decisions based on advices of technicians and based on advices of anyone else, people that we believe are experts. Could they have been better advised? Could we have been better advised? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I believe those people also who were advising us genuinely, that no one in your right sense would want to say something that is not correct. All what they said was what they believe was correct. And maybe limitation of knowledge and limitation of expertise also comes in.
Then will you question their expertise then?
Well, I wouldn't question their expertise, but I know that we have limitations in terms of our expertise. That is the truth of the matter. And that's because there are certain things, for instance, if you go to the stadium today, there is on the staircases, there are certain areas where people walk to go on the staircase, like the footwalk path, is painted yellow. Now, when the inspector came, he said, no, your footpath has to be painted yellow. That's a basic thing. Like anyone else who inspected before CAF comes to say, no, if you want approval, you have to paint this yellow. Somebody might call it basic, but that's simple. That's something that anybody can pick up if you are an expert in the area. Or you can go to the pitch and say, okay, you're supposed to have a disability platform. That CAF does not allow people now to stand on the bottom of below the pavilion. You need to have a disability platform. We didn't have a disability platform at the time. We had 6 CCTV cameras. We were not told that we needed to have 40 CCTV cameras. And then when CAF inspector came, he said, no, 6 is not enough. You need to have 40 CCTV cameras. So these are things that one would have expected that they could have come out earlier from the people that are technicians and responsible for it. And
you mentioned that your ministry was responsible for hiring the contractor.
Yeah.
How was the contractor identified?
Okay. So before I answer that, let me say this. Contractors work based on what you ask them to do. If I want to build a story building and want to make a three floor and 2 bedrooms per floor, that's what I tell the contractor, and that's what you bid, that's what you cost. If I want to have 3 TVs in the room and have a fridge and a tile, that's what you cost. So if I am a contractor and you give me a contract and you did your costing but you forgot to put the tiles, it is not my responsibility to put tiles there. It is the responsibility of the one who costed the job to have included tiles and include as part of the job. If you don't and the contractor don't deliver it, you don't blame him. What you hold contracts accountable for is things that you costed, you paid for it, but they did not provide services. So there are things in the stadium that were not costed, they were not part of the job, and the contractors couldn't do it because they were not costed. How was the contractor identified? It was tendered. Okay. Because it was considered to be a technical job. And technical job, there are certain companies that are considered good enough to be able to do that, and they were asked to bid. And they bid it. In fact, they were all invited to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The Ministry of Works came and did the projections, like projected everything that needs to be done for them to have a visual idea of what needs to be done, I mean, to see it. After that, they were escorted to the stadium for all of them. There, I think about 6 companies, to go and inspect the stadium and look at the works that they have seen on the projector and now see it physically. It was after this that we now asked them to submit. So some of them withdrew from it. Like, I mean, maybe no need to name, but there are some companies, for instance, that said, okay, what we have seen, we don't want to get into this job, and they withdrew. There's others that bidded. Now, when they bidded, the contracts committee, which is again chaired by us as a ministry, reviewed the submissions and made a decision based on 2 reasons: technical proposal, technical submission, and financial proposal. And they made a decision based on that. Then I think 2 companies bidded above the price, the other one bidded below, or exactly the cost, and then they ended up taking the one that was, no, the 2 that bidded the highest, but they negotiated with them to bring the prices down. So this is exactly how contractors are identified in every civil works of the world.
But was there any background check to understand whether actually this contractor has any sort of specialty in building stadiums or renovating stadiums?
No.
Was this done? Or was this whole process just a formality, just to say, okay, at least, there was an open tender, but there was already someone who was in mind to be given the contract?
No, you don't have that when you bid, because the fact that others were invited, many companies were invited, there was nothing like this company had. We had this company in mind also. The companies that were bidded were evaluated equally by the people that does that evaluation, which is, again, like I said, the contract committee, and they choose them based on the technical proposal and the financial submission. Now, do they have stadium experience? The reality is there is no company in this country that has experience in stadium works. It doesn't exist. We all know that because everybody lives in this country. Now, when I see some of people talk about that, oh, they give it to companies that have no experience in constructing stadium, I ask myself, which company in this country has expertise in building stadiums or renovating stadiums? It does not exist. So it was a matter of government to decide. Do you want to tender it locally and ask companies to partner with foreign companies that have the expertise and they use those expertise to do the job? Or you want to tender your contract internationally? When you tender internationally, we all know what that means. It takes more time to tender. It will cost you maybe 2-3 times the amount that you would have paid to do it. These are the realities. Do we have that money to do that? Maybe not. We even struggle with what we local companies are asking us to pay, who are partnering with international companies, especially when you want to now tender it internationally. So these are the realities. Today, what is the value of the dollar to the dollar? And you want to tender something at an international market. These small companies, I mean big companies in other places, they are not, when they bid for a job in a particular country, they are not charging you for only the job. They will charge you for what they need to do. They will charge you for moving their equipment from a foreign company, a foreign country, into your country, and when they are done with that job, they go back. Because after stadium renovation, which other stadium are they going to build? None. So they're going to look at all of those costs and charge you based on those things. And it will have taken us 2-3 times the cost. Before we even tendered the job, there was a company, before I was even appointed minister, that came and offered Gambia to renovate the stadium. When I came, they came back again and offered us. But they were even asking us for $10 million to renovate stadium, do basic renovation, not even upgrade anything. And we are now doing the job and almost getting cash approval at half of that cost, which is almost $5 million. Lower than any other country in the continent.
You said the ministry was responsible for hiring the contractor, but the Ministry of Works was responsible for supervising, the contractor. We have seen what has happened. Are you saying the Ministry of Works has actually failed in its role?
No, they did not. The Ministry of Works, no, they did not, because like I said, the initial report of what needs to be done came from the stadium management to us to say CAF required this because there's a CAF regulation 2024. And they said this and this and this is what they need to do. Minister of Works was asked to do an assessment of the facility using that report from the management of the stadium. And when they completed that, they told us all the works that we need to do. But like I mentioned earlier, what we believe or what stadium management told us is that because we don't have the money to do all this, and they said, okay, well, let's do this. And remember, the banning of the stadium in 2022 was not the first banning. Like I said, we have been banned a few times.
But and not as serious as this one.
Yes, because CAF has not taken a firm decision or a firm action like they did in 2022. Because it's like someone saying in 2014 when CAF wrote to countries to say, we are giving you, was it 5 years? 5 years to renovate your stadiums or build new stadiums and bring them to this standard. That was in 2014. That was even before this government came in place. And that 5 years elapsed, I think in 2017. And when that elapsed, then CAF was banning stadiums. But they allow you to do renovation, some small renovation, and they allow you to play. And then after, another time they ban again, and you play. You do small renovation, they allow you to play. That is what happened. Now in 2022, maybe the thinking was that because they have done it twice, and we did small work, they allowed us to play. Maybe that's what they're doing. And at this time around, CAF said, no, you have to be able to do all of this. And essentially, this is what brought us to the stage that we are. But like I said...
And with all this, Honorable, I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent so far on this renovation work. Yet, yes, boys continue to play outside of this country. How do you justify the outcome, considering these millions that have been spent? Some are even saying, why not we just go in for a whole new stadium?
It's lack of knowledge. Yeah. It's lack of knowledge. One thing I know, and I have tasked people, whether you are a government officer, or you are an auditor, or you are a journalist, I said, let people go online and research for themselves how much money was spent in renovating stadiums across Africa. I think that would close this chapter. Because people think, oh, when you hear, now we said 375 million, and they say, oh, 375 million is a lot of money. Why are they putting that in renovation? I hear that even from government officials. Why don't they use it to build a new stadium? And I have answered this question multiple times. There is no country in Africa that I know of today that renovated their stadium spending anything, even 10 million. It doesn't exist. And I want anybody to prove me wrong by checking for the countries that have renovated their stadiums. Now, if it was that easy and cheap, why are several countries still today they are on a ban? Why? Why do we still have even most of our neighboring countries in ban? Gambia is not the only country, and I'm not saying this to diminish the seriousness of what happened. I'm just trying to explain for the viewers to realize that the situation that we are affected 33 stadiums in Africa. And until today, I think there are about 12 or so that we are able to get out of that zone. The rest of the 20-something are still in that category of countries that are still playing outside. In the last AFCON that we played, we were 4 in the group. Only Tunisia had a stadium. Gambia, Madagascar, Comoros, we were all playing outside. Some of these other countries in West Africa, until today, they're playing outside. Same thing with East African countries, they're playing outside. It is expensive to renovate stadiums.
So what happens financially? Because already you have met your budget, going by the information you were given prior, and these payments were made, and only to CAF to come and say, no, this is wrong, you have to redo it again. Who is now going to be responsible for that cost, Honorable?
No, we did not redo anything.
Okay.
And again, these are
is going to do adjustment without any additional funding?
No. Of course, when they do adjustment, you do additional funding. But what I'm establishing the fact is, we are not demolishing or breaking anything and putting something new. Because when people said, oh, they wasted money, it is, for instance, you build here, and somebody comes and said, no, this building is not good, you have to demolish it and rebuild it. That is when you talk about waste of money. But what happened in the case of the stadium for the most part of the job is inadequacy. You're supposed to put 40 cameras, you put 6. Now, when you come and buy 34 other cameras, you are not throwing away the 6 that you bought earlier. You are adding to what you already have. Now, will somebody say, oh, you wasted money because you bought 6 before? No, because those 6 are there. If somebody comes in and says,
the cost will still go high. if you bought 5 and you are asked to buy 50,
yeah,
I mean, the cost is going higher.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying. So, it's a necessity. It's like you did not do it before. I mean, you did not do it earlier, you do it now. That's what I'm trying to explain. Example, we were supposed to do a media tribune. We constructed the stadium, but we did not put a media tribune. And CAF said you need the media tribune. The cost of the media tribune should have been originally part of the original cost.
How could you even miss that in the first place? Media tribune as experts.
No, I'm not an expert.
I'm not referring to you, but the people that you term as experts who are giving this advice, how could you even forget media tribune as an expert in this area, Honorable? I'm sorry, when you sit at this quiet corner, you will say yes, definitely.
No, they did not forget it. They did not forget it. What I have explained, I said,
yes,
it is the belief that there are certain things that the stadium can be approved without.
So media tribune was
Media
important.
tribune was one of those, because the belief was you can have normal pavilions and people can come and sit there and watch matches. Journalists can do their job like it used to be before. But now CAF is saying no, the tribune must be a dedicated area, properly demarcated and protected. You have to create some barricades for them to not come in contact with the fans. Those are the things that we are missing there. And eventually, they had to come and do that. If you go outside, they tell you the entrance for the media has to be different with the spectators. Exactly. We had one general entrance for everybody, including the media. And now they have to create a fence and create a staircase and add it to the structure that was already there. So my point is, that is not wastage. It's something that should have happened before, and Gambia would have paid for it anyway. But because we didn't pay for it at the beginning, we are now paying for it now. And that's when people say that they're wasting money. And I said, no, it's not a waste of money. It's something that you had. You know that I'm supposed to do 1, 2, 3. But you decided to do 1 because you were advised that with 1 you would get what you want. But now you have to add 2 to 1. What was already there is not a waste. What you're doing is added. It's either you spend it earlier on or you spend it now. How can anybody sit down and say, oh, they wasted? Disability platform was not there. You have to add it there. 40 cameras were not there. You have to add it there. How is that a waste?
And Honorable, with your limited budget, where are you getting additional funding to be able to, pay for this?
Well, by the benevolence and the goodwill of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, because that's what exactly happens. Now, if you I'll come back to this one. Let me tell you this about this whole idea of building a stadium with the amount of money we renovate. I said it in the press conference. One of the journalists asked me. I said, even if you say you spend $5 million to renovate the stadium, which we are almost there now, if you multiply that by 20 times, you cannot get a new stadium. And that is the reality. How much does new stadium cost? It's more than $100 million to build a new stadium. The minimum you would pay to build a new stadium is about $100 million. If you want a proper stadium, more standard with certain other facilities, it will cost you $200 million, between $150 and $200 million. The neighboring countries, if you take example, how much are they spending to build new stadiums? Like the one in Senegal, for instance, it cost them 236 million euros to build a new stadium in Senegal. You go to Morocco, which hosted the just AFCON now. How much does their new stadium cost? Or you go to other countries that build new stadiums, between 150 to 200 to $300 million. Does the Gambia have that money right now? I wish, ask Minister, and I believe His Excellency President would be happy to inaugurate a stadium during his time, because that's going to be his legacy and the legacy of the government. But these are realities that people need to understand, that if you put things on the scale of preference, will Gambians vote for a stadium or will vote for a health care center or hospital or roads or agriculture? I wish, ask a minister, that we have a stadium. But it is more than just wish. It's about realities of our economy and the realities of the sub-Saharan African countries, that even the big countries did not have an approved stadium or have one approved stadium. Today, look at the sub-region. How many countries have big countries? Maybe I wouldn't sit there and name countries, but look at West Africa and look at East Africa. Tell me how many countries have stadiums that are approved. Those that have, they have only one. In fact, there's a country where it has to take a private investor to renovate the stadium for them. So these are the things that people must understand. That
so you've promised that the stadium will be ready before the AFCON 2026. We have had similar promises in the past. Why should Gambians believe you that this time this is going to materialize?
I wouldn't force anyone to believe what I said. And what I say is what is on paper. If today, for instance, we're doing work, our current work is expected to end by mid-April or end of April. The contract has a timetable, or they call it a work plan. By end of February, this is what we'll complete. By end of March, this is what we'll complete. And everything is supposed to end by April. If Gambians ask me, when is the work going to end? I will tell them that it will end by the end of April, because on paper, that is what is there. However,
I hope they won't mislead you like they did.
No, it's not even misleading. What happened is...
You had experts who came and gave you all these things, only for you to realize that on the whole, what they give me and what is needed by CAF are different.
But what happened also, we need to understand. Like I said, I don't believe that people just decide to say something to us, ask people in authority, things that are not correct. At the time they give us this information, that was their belief. And I agreed. I said that I understand there is a limitation in terms of knowledge maybe, because they are not probably exposed to proper stadium infrastructure. However, construction everywhere in the world cannot be fixed. You can decide to say, oh, something is going to be completed by end of December 2025. And it might not complete because you have challenges of many factors. Maybe cement shortage, maybe the maritime industry is controlled not by us. You can have a container that's supposed to arrive, for example, on the 20th today of January, and it wouldn't arrive until on the 30th. These are all factors that play into construction. So, you might need money, and you don't have it. You talked about the issue of budget. Go into the Ministry of Youth and Sports budget. You wouldn't see stadium renovation there. It doesn't exist, because what you need to renovate the stadium is far higher than what is allocated to the ministry as a
budget. Is something that we actually need a national debate. I mean, you're receiving the lowest budget as far as, the national budget is concerned. So, Honorable, regarding the issue of renaming the stadium, I saw a press release or somewhere on social media that, you plan to rename the stadium or a particular part of the stadium after Biri Biri. Why?
No, Biri Biri, yes, that's true. We did receive approval from the president to rename the covered pavilion as Biri Biri Pavilion. And the reason is because Biri Biri, until today, remains to be Gambia's most iconic football player that has registered what many couldn't do and what many cannot do until now. The first Gambian to get into Europe and play to that top league. In fact, records has it that he is the first Gambian to play in Denmark, I guess, and in Seville in Spain. So that record is there for him. And that's something that Gambians should be proud of and celebrate the man, even though he is late, but celebrate him for the success that he has done, for having taken Gambia and Africa's name to a level that no one has been able to do until today.
So, Honorable, if CAF, we don't pray, if CAF happen to reject our stadium again, will you consider stepping aside as Minister of Youth and Sports?
We wouldn't even get there. I don't see CAF rejecting the stadium, because CAF report is very clear. CAF did a report and said the change rooms are standard. The report is out there. We shared it with the public. The media tribune is standard. The press conference room is good. The tunnel is great. Every other thing, the hospitality, the VIP, VVIP room, everything has been ticked as good. The only problem is the pitch. And the pitch primarily did not have the right equipment and the right personnel for its management. We have now gotten the money to buy all the equipments that are recommended by the CAF-appointed consultant who came here and looked at what we need and said this is what we need. We brought in the expert that the CAF consultant himself and their report recommended that this is a company, or these are companies, that if you get one of them to do the work for you, you will get what you want. And we gotten Gregory from France, which has done stadiums in Senegal, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, to come to the Gambia and give us the same standard like they did in Cameroon and in Cote d'Ivoire. And I don't see any reason why CAF will reject that, because they are the ones that said, this is what you need to buy, and these are the people to do it.
Earlier on, you mentioned about the issue of the AFCON. Yes, Senegal emerged as winners, but we all know Senegal didn't actually win the AFCON by accident. They must have gotten something right. What is that one thing you think, we can learn from Senegal?
Well, multiple things. Facilities are a major part in sports. So sports infrastructure requires you getting the right facilities, right infrastructure in place. It requires getting the right personnel, as coaches and trainers, those who understand the game and knows what to do. But most importantly, you have a base, you have a foundation which is strong in terms of developing a crop of young players. These, for me, are the things that are fundamental, and those are the things that every country, Gambia, of course, maybe to be focused, is what we need to do. We build the infrastructure, we'll build the human capacity, and we get the right investment to develop an under-17 and under-20 that is strong enough to be able to reach the level that we are. Two teams that anybody who followed football in the continent would know they have invested heavily on: Senegal and Morocco, invested in infrastructure, invested in their under-17 and under-20, and they have a lot of academies across the country that are not necessarily government, they are private sector, but they are ones that have developed a crop of players who are doing the results that we all see.
So why do you think we didn't qualify this time?
I think for us as a country, we are a growing country. Maybe one can say we are late developers.
But we qualified back-to-back, so why this time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. We qualified back-to-back, yes. But the qualification was as a result of many things, right? We have better players. We had better investment, of course, and we talk about this all the time. In 2020, from 2020 to 2021, the crop of players that we had, maybe we didn't have them before. In 2020, 2021, the amount of money that government gave through the GFF to finance the operation of the national team, we have never had it before. $105 million, $105 million was spent in the national team between qualification and going to AFCON. Those are record figures.
GFF will tell you this still not enough. If we are attended their last Congress, General Assembly, I mean, they are still debted.
Of course, and I agree, but
because they were using FIFA funds to support the national team's engagement.
Yeah, but I don't think they claim that they spent FIFA funds only to take care of the national team. In their report, they tell you what percentage of the national team expenses come from government. That percentage was never there before. It is this government that started putting money in the national team in the magnitude that we are. And players come and they get their camping allowances, they get better hotels, they negotiate for camping allowances and bonuses that were never paid before.
But we are delayed.
No, that was maybe one or twice. Yes. The majority of the but you see, delays in camping allowances, or not camping allowances, camping allowances are always paid. Yeah. Delayed in March allowances is a common phenomenon in Africa, because the expenses of maintaining a national team.
Even Senegal?
No, when I say common phenomenon in Africa, I don't know about Senegal, maybe in the past. Because Senegal, the stage that we are now, maybe Senegal was there a few years ago. Things change. And we are also in that process of changing. You remember, as a journalist, that a few years ago, the Gambia government was not putting money in the national team. The national team was not having even money to pay hotels for teams to play. We all remember how much, what's the name of this guy? Seaview Hotel came out, Hatip was hosting a national team quite sometimes for free. Sometimes they pay him very little. We hear of stories of national team players using their own credit card to buy ticket to come and play for Gambia. These things are no longer happening. So when people sit there and say, oh, this government is not doing much, it's probably a lack of knowledge. But the amount of investment this government is doing in terms of football, in terms of supporting athletes, in terms of everything relating to sports is way, way higher than any time in the past. These are realities. If you talk to players today, talk about football maybe, but look at volleyball, look at beach volleyball, look at basketball, look at handball, look at athletics.
Wrestling.
How much is money, and wrestling, how much money is government giving to support these sports activities? It's a lot. Are we doing everything that should be done? No. But we are progressively putting money where it needs to be to support the infrastructure, to support the participation of our national team, and it cannot happen within a short period you get there. We are building up, and we believe that with time, with the cooperation that we have seen between us and the Gambia Football Federation, between us and the GNOC and other associations, we are progressing, and we will get to the level that Gambians expect us. But it has to take time, patience, and of course, more investment. However, private sector has a key role to play in this. The idea in the Gambia is that government should do things. And yes, I agree. But we take Senegal as an example. How much is other private sectors putting into the national team? It's a lot. investment. They are coming and be partners, and they give money to the national team, pay tickets for them, pay even coaches. In the Gambia, how many companies does that? It's very few. So we have a lot more things to think about or to talk about, rather than focusing on just government alone. Maybe we need to also start advocating for the private sector to come in and through their CSR put something in sports.
Are you from that, Honorable? When you talk about football, talk about government, I mean, obviously the issue of politics and governance comes into mind. GFF is heading into elections before the end of this year. Do you have any preferred candidate in the upcoming GFF elections?
If I have a preferred candidate? Yes, I have a preferred candidate. Who? Well, I will not be able to say that. I mean, I'm not going to lie here. I have a preferred candidate. But I wouldn't sit down here and say this is my preferred candidate. And preferred candidate because sometimes you know people, you relate with them, you had maybe engaged them in the past, and you know what their position, what their stand is, what their viewpoint is, and you think they might be good candidates. And government also want always to have the kind of relationship that we have now with the federation to be cordial, so the sports can move forward.
Is the relationship cordial at the moment?
Yeah.
How is the relationship at the moment?
We have a good relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a
but
relationship.
Can you categorically tell us that the ministry wouldn't influence the elections?
Well,
we have seen it happen in the past.
In the past?
Yes. Where government has special interest in who leads the GFF.
No. Government will go, and when I say government here, I mean the minister or the ministry.
I don't mean the current government. I
understand. Even the current government. I mean, to be direct, and that's what I say when I say government, I'm referring to the minister and the ministry. We would have preferred candidates. Okay. However, what is different between us and the past is that we do not interfere in the election process. We do not ask anyone. We don't talk to anybody to say vote for this person. We don't do anything that is going to disadvantage a certain candidate in favor of another candidate. We don't do that. That happened in the past. We've seen that here. However, that would not prevent us from having a preferred choice. If the preferred choice wins, salam. If he or she doesn't win, then we know that the stakeholders have chosen someone else, and we would continue to support as much as we can.
Honorable, how do you respond to those who said, I mean, your ministry somehow tend to focus more on sports than youth development? What have you done since you were appointed to ensure young people are empowered? The issue of irregular migration, I mean,
no, what we've done is many. Like we always say, there always be the expectations of people supposed to do more, and we agree with that. However, let's say, maybe I'll come to the Minister of Youth and Sports specifically, but let me look at government in general. Today, the investment in the education sector is higher. Even the investment in the youth and sport is higher. The ones who play sports are young people. And today, if we spend, for instance, government has 100 million spent on football, sports between January 2026 to December 2026. That is an investment on young people, even though it's an investment in sports. If government spends in higher education, that's an investment in young people. But it doesn't take away the fact that there is a ministry responsible for youth and sports that has to be resourced to be able to carry on with the activities. And that's where maybe our opinion differs. Even us as ministers, me as Minister of Youth and Sport, the previous ministers, they have issues with finance ministries, for instance, in terms of trying to get an explanation as to what justifies them giving the Minister of Youth and Sport a small budget as compared to other ministers, because we have a responsibility to take care of close to 60% of the population. Yeah. We have, sports is not a small sector. Sport is a huge industry everywhere in the continent and in around the world. However, here we receive small amount of money to support the sector. Better as it might be compared to before. But today, NYSS, anyone who is in the country knows about the existence of NYSS. You know about the existence of the National Youth Council and the NEDI, which is the National Enterprise Development Initiative. All of these are initiatives or programs under the ministry supporting young people. If you go to Bakau around the Friendship Stadium, there is an institution called the President International Award. Yeah. That institution has a technical training center. It has an award program that is supporting young people. In December, we had a camp in Kaur. Before that, every year, there is a number of young people that go to that institution at a minimized amount compared to the private TVEC centers. We are the ones running that. It's financed from government through the Ministry of Youth and Sport. In Chairman, this weekend, we are going to North Bank region to graduate 50 students that were in the Chairman GSI Agricultural Training Center. Those young people there, older 50, for the 12 months, they were enrolled last January until now they are graduating. All 50 of them, and maybe 2 that we lost along the way because one went to police, the other one left, so maybe 48. Their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner is taken care of by the Minister of Youth and Sports, and we are doing that from our budget. And then they have a stipend of $1,000 every month, even though they are in camp, provided full accommodation, full feeding for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and when they feel ill or sick, they take them to the hospital at our cost. That is a youth investment for young people that are interested in agriculture. The NYSS, currently, as we speak today, we have 450 young people from all the regions in the country who are in different programs of the NYSS. Either they are in the apprenticeship training program, which is for those who did not finish school or stop at grade 9, or the regular batch, which is those who have completed grade 12, or the National Youth Service Program, the graduate program, which is for those who finish university. And all of them, like the university graduate program, we pay them a stipend of $1,000 a month for them to stay in an institution and learn the on-job placement for 12 months. When they finish, we expect that with the university degree and the experience working in an institution for 12 months, they should be able to have the qualification required to be employed in the sector, either in the private or in the public. So
with all this, how does the military actually measure the impact of these youth programs beyond just, the participation and the numbers as you are mentioning?
No. If I'm a young person and I am recruited into the NYSS and be taking on an orientation for 1 month, and then after that I am taking to JTTI to study a skill for 2 years, and the ministry is paying my tuition, that is what we can do. We expect that every student that goes to GTTI or goes to another institution in the country, by the time you finish your 2 years, you should have been good enough to either go do your third year by yourself or place yourself in a technical institution and learn the skill more and then get a job or open a workshop for you. But the impact is the fact that a person has gone to school and completed. It's just like anyone going to school. If a parent pays a kid for you to go to university and you finish 4 years in university, the parent has done what he or she is supposed to do. It is now up to you to use that skill and knowledge to be able to carry on with life.
But according to some critics, many of these youth programs are just used as they would put it, political tools, rather than genuinely empowering young people.
Well, we know that our programs are meant to empower young people, and they are doing well in empowering young people because we see the hundreds of them that pass through that program doing so well in life, and the testimonies are there by the young people that benefited from the program, from what they explain and what they have been exposed to and what they have learned and how it have helped them. If you are an unemployed youth and you go to Chairman and spend 12 months there and now you are employed, that is progress. If you come out there and you want to have your own farm, that's progress. Many of them are there. In fact, on this tour that we are going to start on Friday, we would be visiting some of them that have been farmers, others have been other form of entrepreneurship, others are running their poultry places. We are visiting some of them, and we would be showing to the people that these young people pass through our program, and today they are doing well. Quite a number of them. Very, very great ones. We have some best examples that, in fact, last year, we took them to China for 2 weeks exchange program, just for them to be exposed to life out there and what the realities are. Will people always say you are doing well? Maybe not. But those are individual opinions. They are different from the realities of how impactful these programs are to these young people that benefit.
So what are your key priorities for the next 12 or maybe 24 months as minister in terms of youth and sports development?
Our priorities would most likely be the same. But in the sports sector, we have a new policy that is focusing on infrastructure development. So our main priority in the sports sector is not even giving money to associations to go and participate in international competition. We will do that, but we are minimizing that in favor of infrastructural development because we believe that should have been the beginning of all of these things that we are doing today. And maybe the question you asked about what other countries are doing, the infrastructure should have been the primary thing. If maybe previous governments have done more in investing in infrastructure, we wouldn't be here. We would be focusing on maintaining those infrastructures and paying for participation. But today, we have to go back and set the foundation right. Because in fact, sometimes we ask ourselves, you ask about 2 AFCON qualifications and then we retrogress. Why? Maybe the foundation wasn't strong enough. You can build it, it could be great, but there are more things that you need to do. The infrastructure, build the capacity of the coaches that are at the lower level to be able to get the results right at the top level. This is what we are doing as for the sports sector. For the youth, we want to continue to recruit more young people into the NYSS, have more young people go to chairman, and more young people go to PIA, but also make it a cycle, a complete cycle, by empowering the National Enterprise Development Initiative, which is NEDI, under the ministry, to be able to give more grants to young people who want to do business or are already in business and want to scale up their business.
So in terms of, I mean, you mentioned all these priorities. I mean, one will be asking, looking at all these young people, I mean, 60% of our population are young people. How does the ministry go about selecting or identify some of the beneficiaries of these programs?
No, we tender them. I mean, not tender, we advertise it. Okay. Today, maybe let's take a few examples, like the NYSS, for instance. When we are recruiting, we send the forms to the regions, the area councils. They're the ones that young people will go to the youth office there, pick the form and submit. And the region, each region has a quota based on the size of the region. So you'll have some regions that have 15, some regions have 20, other regions have 30, based on the number that we're recruiting. And then they would submit the forms, all of the forms that they collected from the region, and then they will have a panel that will look at those and select them, giving each region your quota. And that's how exactly it happened for the NYSS. For NEDI, it's almost the same. But NEDI have 2 programs, the one that we fund as a ministry and the one that is funded by IOM. Now, IOM one is specifically for migrant returnees, people who come back from the back way and others, and it doesn't matter where you come from. As far as you're a returnee, you can benefit from the program. Training, and then they give them, I think, about $70,000, 1,000 euros to set up business. Of course, there are failures on that because some will even go and sell the business and then find their way back. So that's bad NEDI. But the other one is specifically looking at areas that are not covered in the migration program. So, for instance, figures in the past, I don't know what is the current realities, but figures in the past show that mostly North Bank region, URR has the highest number of migrant young people. So then our own funding will now focus on West Coast and KM because the other one is taken care of by the other sector. So these are different ways of selecting young people. Now, for the Chairman Training Center, that does not have any quota per region because that is a little bit intensive. Unfortunately, some of our young people don't want to go there. They don't want, when they go there, they would, like I said, we recruited 50 last year and then we lost 3. Why? Because maybe they did not expect that's what they're going to do there. They're going there to stay there for 12 months. And they only allow them home when it's Tobaski and Korite and New Year, the rest your income. So, but that is mostly targeting young people who are interested in farming, and those who are interested in farming are mostly coming from the urban, the rural areas, and they're the ones that get selected. Like currently this year, we increased the number to 70 from the 50 that we used to take, and it's young people from the Gambia. And as long as you're between 18 and 35, you're qualified, 33, because by the time they graduate, they have to be within the youth category, so 18 to 33. Anybody can apply. There's a committee that reviews. If you qualify, they take you.
And in terms of ensuring there's that accountability of funds being given to sports associations, I mean, do you have any mechanism in place to ensure these funds that are given to sports associations are well accounted?
Well, the only accountability mechanism right now is the report. Okay. So when we give money to, for instance, to a particular association, we are expected that they go and do the activity. If they are going out of the country, when they come back, they report back to the National Sport Council because their money is given to them through the National Sport Council. So they report back to the National Sport Council on the activities and whatever they did, both activity and financial report.
I know we're running out of time, Hunter, but finally, I mean, politically, do you still have mayoral ambition?
If I still have mayoral ambition, I don't know. I mean, I'm a minister for now, and I think that's what I would continue to do. What the future holds, I don't know. I'm not ruling out anything. I can come back and contest for mayor, depending on the situations that we have. If a situation calls for me to come, I will. If in consultation with the people that I work with, make up our mind that we want to contest for mayor based on the reasons that made us to contest in 2018 and 2023, we would get back and do it.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, Bakari Baji. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Quite appreciate it. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us as far as, your ministry is concerned. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly State of Affairs program. I was your host, Aliou Cisse. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye from me and the entire team.